Welcome to day 2 design thinking session, wherein we are going to deep into the steps. So let's look at what is that we're going to look at. Today we are going to look into the first step, which is empathize or search your user's need or understand the subject and know your customers, your users. Okay, so it's all about understanding the issue, problem, user, whatever regarding that particular project or a subject. As last time I told you that in each of the steps I'm gonna give you a bunch of tools, methodologies, how you can kind of achieve the task. The first is empathize. How do you collect information? How do you understand your user? So there are a few methods and ways of doing those things. So there is something called observation plan and technique. So observation is a technique that needs to be planned and that needs to be followed in a certain way. The second one, here you can see another technique called interview. Again, you have to plan, and what is that technique you follow in the interview? That is, again, I'm going to share with you. And third one is empathy mapping. It's one more tool or a method which you use to collect information so that you're able to understand the subject from a deeper level. Okay, so these are the tools and methods and plans and techniques which we're going to learn in today's session. So let's move on. Recap of the yesterday learning. So what all we learned? Of course, I introduced myself like I'm coming up with books, and you guys can get more information about how do I use design thinking in my daily practice. And another very simple but it's very important aspect, what you all need to remember, is that identifying issue or a problem or an area of improvement and then applying your thinking, and that's what provides the solution for that particular issue. Design thinking is simply said as a problem-solving method. And of course, I always kind of emphasize that design thinking should lead to innovation. And we looked at in the last session what 3 types of innovation and how I extensively use emotional innovation. Okay, then we looked at last time like these 5 stages in a brief. So today we're going to take one stage and go deep into it. Likewise, in coming days, in each of stages there are many tools and techniques and methodologies and processes which I'm going to share with you. As earlier saying, design thinking must lead to innovation, and we discussed in deep 3 types of innovations, and I practice emotional innovation. So henceforth I had given some examples, and in the following days I'm going to share many more examples in this area, which is emotional innovation, which is directly connected with branding and marketing. And I told you the people who wants to pursue their own startup, or they want to run their own family business, or they want to pursue a career in branding and marketing, they have to have a good knack of emotional innovation. You need to really nurture that mindset, innovation mindset. Okay, let's go ahead. So today, empathize is the section what we're going to discuss. What is empathize? Understand the problem you are trying to solve. So empathize, of course, we know the dictionary meaning of it, but in the context, how do we translate that? How do we understand this? This stage is all about understanding the user, a consumer, or a prospective buyer. So how do you understand? You use some, there are a few techniques which I'm going to teach you. While you are extracting information from your user, you empathize with that person rather than just being a mechanical and asking few questions and concluding it. Immerse yourself into a physical environment so that your knowledge can be more thorough. So you try to immerse yourself into the end user's environment so that you feel it, what problems they are facing. Once you understand their pain or their problem or their issues, you can come up with a better solution for that matter, okay? So let's move on. So what is empathy research? It allows us to understand, share what others feel by putting ourselves into people's shoes. So one way you can understand, you try to spend your time in their environment so that you can start seeing what kind of problems they are facing. What is research? So let's come back one step behind and try to see that. I know that good number of you guys are aware about what is research, and you are studying, so you must have done a research for your project or your proposal or your final submission. So you understand what research is, okay? It's basically work undertaken in order to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. Why do we do it? Because I want to understand that issue or a subject so that I can better provide solutions, okay? It's an input mechanism regarding a topic or subject so that when you're producing solutions, you're aware about the subject so that you can produce much more robust solutions. How do we understand? Of course, you understand by reading, you understand by talking to people, you understand by interviewing people, you understand by practically engaging with those activities, okay? One of the technique a good number of researchers use is that consumer interview, wherein you try to taking opinion, like what do they feel about it? Is it good? Is it a bad? Or it's just neutral? So there are many techniques of interviewing people and collecting data from them regarding a subject, product, or a service, okay? So in this example, like when we interviewed this passenger, so he had given his concern areas, like he said, hard seating surface is not comfortable for long travel. Due to poor suspension, ride is highly bumpy, and no facility to sleep. It's just a sitting facility. There is no sleeping facility in the bus. Windows create a lot of noise because of it's not properly fixed windows, so they create a lot of vibration while traveling. And lastly, it's not an air-conditioned bus, so it was really tiring and uncomfortable traveling for long hours. So these were the concern our passenger told us, and we collected this information, and then we kind of start thinking, applying our thinking to solve those problems. Maybe the seating issue, yeah, we can have a better designed seats which are ergonomic and which really kind of provide the comfort. If you sit in these seats for maybe 8 to 10 hours, you don't feel tired. And then the second thing is that maybe how do we reduce the bumpiness, okay? Maybe having a better suspension or air suspension, or having all the latest technology which kind of controls the bumpiness. Then of course nowadays there are a good number of buses which are providing sleeping facilities, and if the bus is traveling for overnight or more than 10, 12, 16 hours, it's better to have a sleeping facility. And likewise, your bus can have an air-conditioned environment so that you don't feel tired. And you see the final avatar of the bus, which has got all of these things: better seating, better suspension, sleeping facility, air-conditioned, and a fixed windows. So this bus is designed keeping human needs, this passenger needs in mind. Then you design the bus. When we apply human-centric understanding consumer, then we start designing a products. We create a happy consumers or satisfied consumer. So interview, here you can see the interview, like asking a bunch of questions, or just asking the person to talk about his experience of traveling, especially if you ask him to just tell us what are the issues you faced while traveling by that bus. So he had given these things. So how interviewing produce a bunch of informations, data points, and that data point, from there you start finding a solution for those issues, and henceforth you come up with the solution. Let's go to the next one. So as we discuss interview and observation. In interviews, what do people think? What do people say? More about thought process, like how they think, what do they think about, what do they say about. Observation, you don't ask questions, you observe human behavior. How do people interact with their environment? How do people interact with the objects? It's more of you observing the people or environment and circumstances. Okay, so this particular observation technique follows AEIOU. What does it mean? A, you can observe activities, you can observe environments, you can observe interactions, you can observe objects, you can observe user. So all of these observations help you to see certain things, and that might trigger new products and services. Okay. So observation technique, Mr. Z drink coffee every day, and he get ready to go to office at 8 a.m. Usually he walks to work, and he's a heavy smartphone user to carry out his daily tasks. He likes to have his morning coffee, but he doesn't get time to prepare or stand in crowded cafe long queue. Okay, so he enjoys picking up his coffee from a well-known cafe on the way to the office. The cafe is usually crowded in the morning. Hence, Mr. Z used app to book the coffee before reaching the cafe. He finds booking morning coffee on the app is highly convenient. He thinks he's overwhelmed about the information technology helping you to achieve these tasks. He thinks he doesn't have the patience like others to wait in the queue for his morning coffee. Mr. Z's main reason to have his morning coffee is to get that caffeine high or a boost to start his day. So this is what we observed about this character, okay? So let's go deep and start filtering it. Like, let's see that Mr. G drinks coffee every day, walks to work, heavy smartphone user. So you see that his habit of drinking, his habit of using a smartphone, and his habit of walking, and his busy schedule, so he doesn't get time, and he doesn't like standing in a crowded cafe, long queue or a line, but enjoys picking up his coffee. So he doesn't mind taking his own coffee. He doesn't want any assistant to bring coffee for him. Currently, he is using app to book his coffee. That app is providing convenient. And why he doesn't want to stand in the long queue? Because he thinks he doesn't have patience like others who are waiting in the queue. And the last reason why he drinks coffee, because it gives the caffeine boost to start his day. So these were pointers what we kind of observed. So now if you see, there are 4 components in your empathy mapping, okay? All the data what you get, you try to segregate or cluster in these 4 quadrants. Say, think, does, feel. These attributes, like we kind of figured out, he said why he drinks caffeine, and he feels he doesn't have patience. Getting my point? Okay, so let's look at this thing. This image clearly tells that you say, you do, you feel it, and you think. You use a mind, heart, words to express, and you use. So he drinks coffee every day, walks to work, again that's he does, and heavy smartphone user, then says enjoys picking up his coffee, he doesn't mind, and use the app for a convenient. Wants convenient, says that always look for convenient, likes to use coffee order app because that really provides a convenient way of accessing my coffee. Enjoys picking up my coffee, I don't mind picking up a coffee. So next, if you see think, doesn't get time to prepare the coffee or stand in the crowded cafe long time. What he feels? He feels overwhelmed by the technology, how it is helping, and he feels he doesn't have the patience, he's impatient. So if you see the certain feelings, certain thoughts, what he says and what he does. So whenever you observe, you talk to the person, you will get a lot of these informations. Once you get all the information, try to bucket them in these 4 sections. Now you got a good amount of data point. From there, you can create a solutions. In this case, so your order is made when you are on the way. So like here, if you see that you can do a pre-order before you leave home. If you order it, by the time you reach the cafe on the way to your office, your order is ready. So that's how that particular observation led to the solution creation. So I hope you kind of observed that there are ways of collecting data. One way you can collect data by interviewing. Another way you can collect data by observing and using empathy map to kind of put your data or segregate data. So I hope you understood that this first stage, which is understanding, is a very critical stage, wherein you are understanding the problem area, issue, so that you can address much better. Thanks for listening.